Hi guys, we are the Med Twins, and we want to break down medicine into chewable pieces so you will be able to understand instead of memorizing difficult concepts. Let's start with the unit of our body, the cell. In today's video, we will focus on growth adaptations. How does the cell adapt when facing different stress levels? So this is a cell. The cells in our bodies sometimes have to face stresses from different sources, such as from low oxygen, chemicals, drugs, immunological reactions, infections, genetic abnormalities, mechanical trauma from extreme temperatures, radiations, electric shocks, and nutritional imbalances. So during these stresses, the cells in our bodies first try to adapt so it can face the challenges better. This is called growth adaptation. In this video, we will talk about hyperplasia, hypertrophy, atrophy, and metaplasia. One of the ways the body adapts to an increase in stress is by increasing its organ size. There are two ways a cell can do this. It can either increase the number of cells, which is called hyperplasia, or it can just make each cell bigger, which is called hypertrophy. Let's talk about hyperplasia. Hyperplasia, which means increasing its number, can be physiologic or pathologic. Physiologic means that it's part of the nature's plan. Pathologic means something is gone wrong. It's not what it was intended to do in the first place. Physiologic hyperplasia can be because a hormone is signaling the cell to multiply. That's what happens in the female breast during puberty and pregnancy. Or it can be after damage or resection and the cells are trying to regenerate. You see this especially in the liver. It's called compensatory hyperplasia. The cells are trying to compensate for something that is missing. This all happens at the level of stem cells. Hyperplasia can also be pathologic. Pathologic hyperplasia occurs when the cells are stimulated in a way that it is not supposed to. For example, if you have excess levels of hormones acting on cells, they can undergo hyperplasia. This is what happens in benign prostatic hyperplasia and endometrial hyperplasia. The second adaptation of the cell that results in increased organ size is hypertrophy. Stressful stimulations can activate transcription factors and growth factors, which work in unison to make your cell a protein factory that results in the multiplication of organelles and eventually increasing the cell's size. This is called hypertrophy. You know the buff guy in the gym with the big hyped up muscles? That's hypertrophy, my friend. So in summary, hyperplasia recruits stem cells to undergo cell division and increase in cell number, and hypertrophy just enhances its synthesis via transcription factors and growth factors to just get bigger. Even though we describe these processes as two separate ones, oftentimes they do occur together. We talked about what the cell does when there is an increase in stress. But what would a cell do when there is a decrease in stress? For a cell to maintain its functions, there is a constant feedback regulation system that passes on signals back and forth. If the cell doesn't get these signals, or in other words, the cell has decreased stress, the cell adapts by undergoing something called atrophy. There are many causes for the cells to undergo atrophy. For example, in disused atrophy, your cells don't receive the same workload as before, therefore they undergo atrophy. Remember the time when you didn't go to the gym and your hard-worked muscles were all gone? That's because of atrophy. It could also happen if you lose innervation. No more neural signaling means the cells are not being used. It then shrinks in size. Another example would be reduced nutrition states, like in cachexia, eating disorders, or malnutrition states, like marasmus. It can also happen when your organs lose the hormonal stimulation it used to have. For example, your adrenal glands are kept active by the tropic hormone ACTH, which is secreted by the pituitary gland. Hormones secreted by the adrenal glands, in turn, negatively feed back on the pituitary. When you take exogenous glucocorticoids, this system is disrupted. The exogenous glucocorticoids inhibits ACTH release, and your adrenal glands won't be stimulated anymore. Therefore, it will undergo atrophy. The mechanism in atrophy is the opposite of hypertrophy. Hypertrophy increased protein synthesis, and in atrophy, the cell reduces the protein synthesis and instead starts to degrade its proteins via the ubiquitin proteasome degradation pathway and autophagy, basically because it doesn't need all this manpower. The structure and function of our cells are interrelated to each other. Sometimes, when there is a change in the stress, the cells undergo a complete change in their cell types. They do this so they can handle this new type of cellular stress better. This is called metaplasia. Let's take the most used example, Barrett's esophagus. Our esophagus is usually made out of squamous cells because its job is to handle a lot of friction because of the food we swallow. When there is GERD or gastroesophageal reflux disease, the constant acid reflux is not the type of stress the esophagus is used to. So they adapt by changing the squamous cell type to columnar cells, the type you see in the intestines. Now it's better suited to handle the acidic stress. This is metaplasia. Metaplasia works via reprogramming the stem cells. Now let's quickly summarize what we learned today. The cell is constantly exposed to different types of stresses, and depending on the type of stress, the cells adapt to these stresses and stimulations by morphing itself. We talked about these growth adaptations. When there is an increase in stress, the cells can undergo hypertrophy or hyperplasia. When the stress is decreased, the cells undergo atrophy. When there is a change in the stress, it may undergo metaplasia. In our next video, we will see what happens to the cell when it cannot adapt to stress any longer. Thank you and see you next time.